Guard.
Spiky Bits.
Welcome back, Hobby Maniacs. I'm Rob Bear from SpikyBits.com, and today I wanted to talk to you about a Kickstarter that's coming out very shortly, or it might already be out now. I mean, time has no meaning anymore. It's called the Altirvun, and it is alternate guard miniatures that we have actually printed out and already have the base set right here to show you today. Fred from Lore Miniatures, that's the artist, hit me up. He's like, "Hey, I'd like you to promote this Kickstarter." And of course, you know, I wanted to see the miniatures first, so I was like, yeah, let me take a look. And then I took a look, and I'm like, yes, we'd love to help you. We'd love to help promote your Kickstarter. This is great. I think these are really cool designs, and the fact that I was actually able to print them out, prime them up, and with minimum effort, I see no reason why folks watching this video right now couldn't do the same. So let's go over and check out the preview Kickstarter. Of course, you know, it might be a little different by the time it hits, and then show you the miniatures of course too. And I'm sure there's going to be a lot more stretch goals to unlock in different designs and things too. Okay, so here it is. So obviously Kickstarters, they're, you know, the URLs are all sorts of gobbledygook. So we'll put the link to this in the video description and also in the comments so you can check it out. And just remember, keep in mind, this is not the finalized version of the Kickstarter, so it may change a little bit, but I think it's pretty dialed in by now. They're getting ready to launch this year. So it looks like, you know, they have a very good pledge goal already. So chances are the base level will get unlocked probably pretty quick, judging by the levels here that you can pledge. So here's a look at the miniatures themselves. So it's basically an infantry squad, some special characters, you know, standard bearer, like a leader guy, and they also give you a free miniature to download so you can try it out for yourself. And that miniature is pretty dope. I think the Commandant is really cool. And then they have a field gun, which, you know, I've talked a lot in the past for all the different brands. You know, having a heavy weapon field gun is kind of, you have to kind of have that. And they're just silly expensive from Games Workshop. I mean, I have a Deathcore Krieg army, and they are, I think, $38 for a heavy weapon, a single heavy weapon now. It's just, I couldn't rebuild the army I have right now if I sold it. I couldn't, and it's crazy with 3D printing now, the things you can do and the value that's just added all day with stuff like this. And then, of course, they have a tank too. They have a big main battle tank as well that I'm sure is going to have some variants. We actually printed this out. I think they're going to have a hollowed version of it too, so you don't have to waste that much precious resin, or, you know, you don't want it like super heavy, of course. And there is optional sponsons, which we also printed out to show you, which is pretty dope. There's a lot going on here. So they have, I think, some very modest pledge levels, to be quite honest. Now, again, this might change, so don't hold me to it. But I feel like, you know, if you want everything, all the whole army STLs is $40. Like, that seems pretty good to me. Now, there's going to be some stretch goals, and of course, maybe you just want the infantry leaders, and there'll be extra like assault weapons and special weapons and things, and, you know, field gun variants. I would assume. Here's a look at some of the stretch goals. So machine gun variant, you know, assault guns, and more infantry model poses and different things, sponsons, main battle tank, anti-personnel turret. So I feel like they've kind of got it planned out. It looks pretty good. They also have pre-supported versions for their STLs. Now, I did it hard mode. We used regular supports, but it all worked out very well. There's some size comparisons to some of the miniatures that you might be more familiar with. Now, I wouldn't be doing any of this justice if I didn't tell you that, yes, the infantry models are slightly larger than Games Workshop plastics. And there's kind of a reason for that. You know, the Games Workshop plastics are definitely showing their age, right? I think the Cadian squad is from 03, if I'm not mistaken, and some of the command squads for Cadia and Catachan are 05. The Catachans are 1999. They're literally over 21. They're legal to drink in America, actually. It's crazy. So I feel like being a little bit bigger is okay, and we'll talk about that more in a second. And it's not out of whack, like scale or anything like that. I feel like it's just enough to get you in there and get you painting and not have you strain and not have you like fussing. It's too small and all the details are fiddly. I feel like it's just right. It's the Goldilocks of scale right there. And then, you know, there's some different things about, you know, hey, how we're going to fulfill this, our team, the people, commercial license if you want to print these things and resell them. There's a lot of folks out there doing that, including us, of course. But overall, I think it's pretty well planned out, and it's looking good so far. So let's take a look at the miniatures that I printed out, just to see how detailed they are. So I went ahead and primed these just so you could see the detail a little bit better, because we use a well, we call it void resin. It's kind of a smoky color, and it's kind of hard to see the detail in there. Like, it looks like it's soft and it doesn't have detail when actually it does. It's just not opaque. So here it is with a primer coat. You can't even really tell this is 3D printed, to be quite honest, and the details are still very crisp and dope looking. Now this is printed to basically a 25 micron equivalent, you know, in resin. So definitely gives you an idea of, if you you know, spend a couple, you know, some extra hours of print time on it, this is basically what you would be left with. Now, like I said, it is a little bit bigger scale wise. Like, here's a Death Corpsman, which is probably, let's see, we got rocks, so there's a rock. So it is a little bit bigger, but remember, it probably looks a little out of whack with the Deathcore scale, because Deathcore are smaller than the Cadians. So that picture I showed you, they're going to be, actually, if you put them next to each other, it would be these guys, and then the Cadians, and then the Deathcore, because on the scale. So, well, this is probably a bad example too, because he's the leader guy. So let's look at like a infantry duder right here, and for kind of the scale. So that, yeah, that brings it home a little bit better, I feel like. So this is a little smaller, like I said, because it's Forge World, it's Deathcore. But check out this guy right here. Like, he's not that much bigger in the scale. Plenty of room to get in there with the paintbrush. Get even, you know, the little pins on the grenade, all the buttons and accoutrement and things. Like, it's just very, very good sculpts. Very thorough on the, you know, thinking out. I'll lift the support right there. That's one thing I like about this resin, is it doesn't pox. It actually leaves little nubs, which is probably better than pox marks when you pull it off in the hot water. And then you got your backpacks, all part of it. These are all one-piece prints, because, you know, he has them all lined up like perfectly, so you can just basically print it out. And I forget what angle this one printed out at. I guess that's, so it's probably something like this, maybe something like that. But either way, tons of great looking dudes. Here's I think the captain or whatever, and all of the bases are cued to a specific miniature, like you can see with the little divots in there. So they kind of thought it all out, which is really neat. So not only will you get, you know, the fresh designs for the miniatures themselves, but you'll also get, you know, bases that go specifically with them. But don't get me wrong, you could just use regular bases, because there's only a couple of them that are standing on stuff, like the Commandant's doing his Captain Morgan pose, of course, with some sort of space Xenos alien. I wonder what that could be on, and holding up its head right there, of course. So very, very fresh. And then the standard bearer was really what got me. Like, look at that. And this is we printed it in void resin, but I mean, it's very easy to put together, and it slots in right here. This is actually two pieces, and it kind of just touches his head, his helmet right there, or his hat. I don't even know what those are called, but either way, it looks great, and it's very well thought out, and it's perfectly balanced. Like, I was like, man, this thing's gonna fall over. No. Super good, very well thought out design. I love seeing stuff like this. And then there's a little comms guy here, which I think is pretty cool. So they have pretty much the base, a good super base of dudes to kind of choose from. And then the weapon team, again, very cool. This is a 60 mil, basically a 60 mil round base, and you can see where we popped it off the printer right there at the angle. And then all these guys are fully loaded down with, you know, everything you need for spotting and things. This is what was this? This was wheels, armor plate. This here, either way, it went together fantastic once you get it all together, and it sits right on the base. And how cool is that? You don't even have to do anything else. Got a little camo shielding here, tarps, and some sandbags as well, so for that positioning. And then last but certainly not least is their battle tank, which you saw in the picture. I actually don't have the Lehman Russ handy, unfortunately, but you saw in the picture how it looks. And then this thing is just, it's really, really cool. Like, you can barely see the print marks right there, and that's really only because we're kind of zoomed in on it. To the naked eye, yeah, I could see those right there, actually. But in some of these other areas, I can't really see any of it that I do see in the camera, but right here they are a little evident. And then down here, they're a little evident too. So it just kind of depends on which way you angle this, if you decide to angle it. Now this is actually hollowed out. I put some holes in the bottom here to help everything drain out, and you can see the sections for the pieces. This is actually all hollow, but you can print it not hollow. In here, I think these already come kind of hollowed out. And then this The turret here is pretty cool, and maybe they'll have some slot out options where you can just slide out the weapon and it slots in. Maybe it'll just be a completely different turret, which I would actually prefer it to be, you know, just something you slot in and slot out. And this actually is hollow to this whole cavity right here that we printed out, and I think it looks pretty good. Nice, like I said, large areas that you can paint, you can get in there, and this is pretty much the same scale as, you know, the battle tanks that you would kind of expect. So overall, it appears to be a very well thought out, and pretty much everything you see here is already done. So they have a very, I think, ambitious delivery of June for most of these rewards right here. So depending on how much stuff they have to actually go back and design, you know, it may push it back, it may not push it back. Maybe they'll just like, you know, fulfill it over on My Mini Factory, and you'll get the extra minis when you get the extra minis, so you can get right to printing and get some stuff ready for the tabletop. Again, I think they've done a great job with it, so I can't wait to see what else happens in this actual campaign coming up here soon. So make sure you check it out. I don't know the URL for it, but you could always search for the Altirvun, or you could just search Lore Miniatures over on Kickstarter, or if you're watching this video, I will put a link to it in the description as well as the comments. So that's it for this one. Thank you very much for watching.